Coach will open. Raise your hand.
How you guys doing? How's the air conditioning? They look soft to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do this outside.
Hey, I've been out there for the last, what, 2.5 hours.
We'll go to practice if you want. Like you said.
If you wouldn't take roll, I'd let you.
I won't take
The only thing you do is take roll. I mean, see who's missing in flex, and then I get 62 questions about why wasn't this guy lined up where he usually lines up. I mean, if we had asked intelligent questions, it would be different about practice, then it would be worthwhile. So I think the number one thing we need to focus on is, we have to increase the level of attention to detail, focus on every play. I mean, so that we can play and not have penalties and missed assignments. And, communication goes with that. I don't care whether you're playing the offensive line, you make a line call, whether you're playing the secondary, you make a coverage call. So everybody's on the same page. And you can anticipate things, and you can play better, and you can play faster. And I think sometimes when things get a little bit difficult, we lose our focus a little bit. And one of the interesting things somebody brought to my attention, the two longest games that we had last year, almost 4 hours long, 2 games, Tennessee and LSU. We made mistakes at the end of the game which were very costly. And so the ability to sustain this level of concentration and focus, no matter what you call it, deeper focus, whatever, is something that we really, really need to do and continue to work on, so that we have a chance to be, more consistent as a team and don't make plays that are drive killers or give up explosive plays on defense or help the other team with penalties or whatever it is. I like the attitude that the team has. I like the togetherness. I like the sort of sense of commitment to the principles and values that everybody seems to be buying into. But that's something that we need to work on, and every guy has got to do a good job of, working on that. Today was the first day in pads. Obviously, we've gotten chased inside by the rain a couple days, so this was one of the first days. Second day, I guess, we were able to stay outside for the entire practice, and it's a great opportunity for us to be able to stay focused in these kind of conditions, especially toward the end of practice when guys, are getting tired. And Saturday scrimmage will be no different. We want to evaluate whether guys can block, tackle, execute what they're supposed to do, not so much try to game plan and experiment with things, but just see how guys can play winning football at whatever position. That's something that I think is really, really important. We've had 2 really good speakers the last 2 nights. Shep, last night Pete Rose. Amazing to me all the accomplishments that Pete Rose was able to, like all the records. I mean, I'm going to tell you, maybe you guys can look them up, but it's fascinating. And he was, in his own admission, he was not the most talented guy, but Charlie Hustle, man. I mean, that guy was something else when it came to competitive spirit and how he went about doing what he did to, play at a high level for so long. I think it was good for our players to hear. They really enjoyed it. He had a great sense of humor. So, and Shep was all about being a man. So I think some good things happening from that standpoint and helping our guys develop the right habits.
Starting with Charlie.
Yeah, Coach, just what kind of progress have you seen from Terrence Ferguson at guard?
Terrence Ferguson is playing really, really well. He's gotten bigger and stronger. He's also always been very explosive and had explosive power and body quickness. And he's very confident in what he's doing. And, we're playing him at center some too, which he's done a good job of that. He's showing a lot of maturity. And I look at him as a starter on our team. I think we have 6 or 7 guys who may be starters, so we'll see what the best combination is as we go through camp.
You've mentioned speakers coming in and kind of trying to impart some of their wisdom to this team about their life lessons or their past mistakes. Did Pete Rose talk about his gambling or sexual misconduct allegations with the team?
I don't know how to answer that, but he did call the guy that asked the question in a very funny way a name that I will not repeat, and everybody laughed. But I won't call you that name. No, he said he made a mistake. He said he made a mistake. He should have never done it. And he said it was bad judgment on his part. He was very, much in admitting. But, he also talked about winning. And he said he never gambled on his team doing anything but winning because he believed in his players, he trusted his players, he loved his players. So that's how he answered the question. So I'm paraphrasing what he said. You asked the question, I'm giving you the answer. But I'm leaving out one part because he had some kind words for the person who asked it.
As far as freshmen who in the past have been able to contribute early on, what are some common threads or attributes that you've seen that they've done to be able to contribute early?
I think it's maturity. I think they're mature, they're confident. It's interesting, how people gain their self-esteem. Some people gain their self-esteem from what everybody else thinks, and I think that's pretty shallow and can be sometimes misleading. But these guys are mature in terms of believing in themselves, having confidence, believing that they can learn, believing that they can go out there and play the techniques that they need to play to be able to have success. And they've had success in the past based on their performance and what they've done, not based on what somebody else said about them. So, and I think that maturity is, the biggest difference in guys that can develop more quickly and in guys that may take a little longer to develop.
Step here from Kenny Tiller, grab behind you, got a mic.
Good afternoon, Coach. You have a few veterans at kicker and punter. What have you seen from them in the first week, and what do you want to continue to see from them through August?
Yeah, they've done really, really well. We've got a lot of confidence in both guys. James has gotten a little better each year in terms of his consistency. He's got a really strong leg, but he's gotten a little more consistent. So his bad kicks aren't as bad, and his good kicks are even better, but he's more consistent all the way around. And, Will's been as good a college kicker over the last 2 or 3 years as anybody could ever ask for. So we're really glad to have both those guys back. I think it's going to be an important part of, you got to have great special teams, and sometimes people just look at the specialist and they evaluate the special teams. So our specialists should be really, really good. So we got to build really, really good special teams around them so that that can be a real asset for us this season.
Stand aside in the middle with Mike.
What have been your impressions so far of Caden Proctor, and just where does that position stand with the health of Elijah and Miles McMahon?
Well, they're in competition. I think both guys need to continue to develop and play with a little bit more consistency in terms of the very things that I've been talking about, in terms of paying attention to detail, doing the little things right, being able to stay focused when they get tired, having the mental toughness to see it through. And I really like the attitude and maturity of the offensive line and the leadership that we have at that position. So those guys are going to be pretty demanding on those guys to buy in and do things at the level they need to be able to play the way they're capable of. Nobody's disappointed in their development, but if they're going to be starters, there's an expectation that goes with that too, and I think that's something that we need to continue to work to get them to be able to do on a consistent basis.
Hey, Coach, I know Eli Gold is working himself back into shape. He's been rehabbing. Just your thoughts on him returning to the broadcast booth this season?
Yeah, I love Eli. He's been with us for a long time. He's kind of the part of the tradition around here in terms of the expectation of being the voice of, the Crimson Tide Network in a lot of ways, whether it's radio show or whatever it is. And, I'm just happy for him and his family that he's getting healthier, and he's able to get around, and he's going to be able to, get back and do what he loves doing. So we're going to do everything we can to support him, and even though it may not be 100% full throttle, we're sort of working him back into it, but I'm excited to have him back because I love working with him.
Step right here with Chase.
Coach, at the top, you talked about the importance of communication. How does Seth McLaughlin been looking at center in terms of the checks and calls and the things that the leadership stuff that goes along with being a good center?
Oh, he does. He does really, really well. So does Dalcourt when he's playing center. But I think when you have veteran guys that certainly can contribute to that guy, which Book and JC. And those guys kind of set the tone for that whole group, with Seth. But he's done a really, really good job. He's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, and he's always had a tremendous attitude. I don't think anybody's ever going to go wrong hiring him. I don't care what he ends up doing. I mean, he's got the right stuff.
You've said you've preached to the players, just have that attitude of just a play in, play out sort of emphasis. Do you see a tangible impact on that in practice so far?
If I did and I was satisfied, I wouldn't be preaching. So, I don't think it's anything that you ever give up on. We'll never give up on it. I think the players want to do it. I just think, you're changing a mindset, all right, that has been the way guys go about things for a long time. And sometimes guys that are talented, it's more challenging for them to develop the right mindset because they haven't had to do those things all the time. So, but I think they realize the importance of it. I think there was a lot of lessons learned from last year, as well as every day that we can point out in practice, look, we could have eliminated this area if we had better communication or better focus or better eye control or discipline and eye control, or whatever it might be. So we're going to continue to harp on those things, and hopefully, one day everyone will get it.
We're going to finish here with Tony.
Do the skill sets of your options behind center make a two-quarterback system possible, and is that something you'd even consider moving forward?
I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you, and I don't see how those things are related.
Okay.
So I don't know if we've had two quarterbacks around here before, but that doesn't mean we had to change the center. Or that one guy went with one center and the other guy went with another center.
Just the options you have at quarterback, does that create an do the skill sets match, or would they be beneficial for a two-quarterback system? Nothing to do with the center.
Every center that we have can snap to every quarterback that we have. And
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking the options you have at quarterback, their skill sets, does that lend to a two-quarterback system? Would that be possible, and would that be something you consider?
we're trying to develop all of our quarterbacks right now, so that's not something that we've talked about to this point. If we think it's going to help us win down the road, then we'll certainly consider it.